Hey everyone, it's Saturday afternoon and I am back to address some of the questions and comments from my previous video. Thursday, May 1st, around 6:30 p.m., as many of you know, I was pulled down by my standard 60-pound poodle, and I not only broke my hip, I broke my femur. After an ambulance ride from Maricopa to Chandler Regional, a level 1 trauma center, I was immediately seen and admitted. Trauma team was placed on my case and I was moved into ICU due to the injury and my prior hospitalization the week before, when I spent 4 days in the hospital and was diagnosed with orthostatic hypertension and bradycardia. So even being in pain and not having meds in my system yet, my heart rate and my BP at this point were low. So I asked for my cardiologist to come and see me. First request. Some of you asked what type of insurance I have, and I believe that my husband and I both have an excellent insurance plan in place. It's a PPO plan, and I can go anywhere that I wanted to go. So going to a modern facility, and what I meant by that was a facility that only does like PT. And it wasn't a long-term place where you go and live out the rest of your days. So that's what I meant by modern. So yes, I understand the difference between, like a nursing home and a rehab facility. And from the very beginning, I told the staff at the hospital that if I could not do inpatient rehab, I would go home, just because I did not want to go to a nursing home, as my PT would be completely different and limited and not as often as a rehab facility. So this is what I meant about modern facility. Becoming active again is a priority, as I was very active prior to my fall. And right now I can no longer bear weight. I can stand with a walker. I can pivot my feet to get from my chair to my chair side commode, which is right next to me. And I can do some strength exercises that I found online. So how is it that I'm not injured enough? I'm a 59-year-old woman. The places that were going to accept me, honestly, 99% of those are the ones that you hear about. And some of you said that I was taking my pastor's word. Well, I'm gonna listen to him when he's been to visit many people in our congregation, and he has seen lack of proper care, lack of cleanliness, neglect, people laying in bed for hours with no direction or PT. It's enough to keep my distance from these places. The reviews are enough to keep my distance from these places. And that is what I meant by not wanting to go to a nursing facility. Home health was much better for me, but the hospital kept pushing me towards these nursing homes. I wasn't injured enough to go to a rehab facility. Correct me if I'm wrong here, honey. He's sitting next to me. But I wasn't well enough to go home. So they kept pushing these other places. And it was disheartening. It dropped my spirits. It's sad what people have to go through when they're not at their best. So, as far as my care on Friday, May 2nd, my first full day in the hospital, I was still in ICU, and I waited till the afternoon to have my surgery where a rod and pins were placed. This recovery is much more difficult than a hip replacement. My husband's had a hip replacement and he was up the same day. So unless you are a loved one who've had my type of injury, you don't know the pain or severity of this sort of injury. Also, the hospital I was at keeps people at least a few days after such injury as mine. They don't release you. So, hooray for many of you who work in a hospital that release patients within 24 hours. That was not an option for me. And I wish it was, but it wasn't. After surgery, I was brought back to my ICU room, and 3 hours later, my very petite nurse had me standing bedside. I was kind of out of it still from anesthesia and very dizzy. And I just didn't feel comfortable only having one nurse move me. So I was put back to bed, and a few hours later was moved to the med surge floor by my trauma team's request. And I really believe that this is where my cardiac issues really started being ignored. So Saturday, May 3rd, which was my second full day in the hospital, I was being talked to about discharge and rehab facilities, and was told to pick one from a list, which I did. PT and OT both came to get me out of bed, but my BP dropped dangerously low, and I'm talking like 52/28. So the effort to get me up was stopped immediately. I once again immediately asked for my cardiologist to be put on my case. Not just come see me. I wanted him talking with the trauma team about me, because I truly, at this point, did not think it was from meds, but they said it wasn't necessary. So, okay, maybe. But what if my 4-day prior cardiac hospitalization had something to do with this? I repeated, I was diagnosed with the orthocentric hypertension and bradycardia, and I wanted my cardiologist there. And if nothing else, for peace of mind, which I was owed. Face it, there are so many disparities in practicing medicine, and just because they have a trauma protocol for all patients does not mean that my cardiac issues should have been avoided, ignored, as long as they were. Sure, my injury could be geographically close to most patients with that type of injury, but my cardiac history set me worlds apart. And one size doesn't fit all in care, and should be a lesson learned for this institution, for this hospital. Eventually I was moved to a chair and sat in the chair for about 4 hours. It felt good. It was painful, but no pain, no gain. I know, if you don't put in the work, you're not going to get results. 2.5 years ago, I'm a 59-year-old woman, 5'9", 179 pounds. And in the last 2 years, I have lost 79 pounds. So I know what it's like to put in work. And I was living my best active life here. Here with my husband in Arizona. But this kind of put a little damper in it. And so here I am. Let's see. Sunday, it's pretty windy out here in Maricopa, so if I keep looking out the window, it's like, whoo. Sunday, May 4th, which was my third full day in the hospital, my cardiologist was still not on board. My BP was still low, and now my PureWick urine collector was not collecting all my urine. They're not 100%. The diaper soaks up the rest of it, but you don't get that changed as much, and it's painful to get it changed. You got to move, and you got to get cleaned up, and for someone as active as I am, and as what's the word, hon, when you do everything kind of yourself, when you're independent, you don't want, it's not, okay. Hon, oh. I was living my best active life with my husband here in Arizona. We've been out here about a year. So it's, this is a huge setback for me. And this too shall pass. Sunday, May 4th. This was my third full day in the hospital, and my cardiologist was still not on board. My BP was still low. I had a PureWick placed to collect urine. It doesn't collect all the urine, so you also have a diaper on, and that soaks up the rest, and that's not changed all the time, so you feel dirty, and then, to get it changed is impossible, and I'm getting no OT, no PT, no ice. My hip is swollen. I'm in pain. It was my worst day. I had a few visitors that I really didn't want to be there, but, I'm kind of glad they were. I went off the pain meds because I believed that the pain meds were causing my low BP. But when I couldn't take it anymore and asked for pain meds again, I swear, I personally feel like they thought I was an addict. The way that I was talked to at first, mind you, by the trauma team, not the nurses, upset me. I don't do drugs, I rarely drink, and I don't smoke. So it really pissed me off. And getting that pain back under control took hours, not just like a few, 20 minutes for you take a pill, with some water and it starts acting. No, it was hours. I was also given a blood transfusion at this time, which is scary as heck, due to my levels. And the trauma team finally put me on Midodine, which is a blood pressure med, as protocol, which I asked to be cleared with my cardiologist, as I felt this was just to cover maybe asses, as I was pretty adamant at this point about seeing my cardiologist, and I just did not want to take any type of heart medicine that my cardiologist didn't prescribe. So again, one size doesn't fit the mold for everyone. I just am thankful that my pastor and my friends were there. They witnessed this day, me at my worst, and immediately started helping my husband advocate for me. It's a hard time for my husband too. He was going through a lot, worried as heck about me. And yeah. Monday, May 5th rolled around. This is my fourth day in the hospital. I decided I no longer wanted the PureWick placed, and I would call the nurse each time that I needed to use the bathroom on the bedside commode, despite having no PT or OT instruction on how to properly get in and out of bed. Again, my nurses wore many hats and were all excellent in helping me. PT surprisingly came into my room shortly after this for discharge purposes only. And they would not be giving me PT or OT while there. That was not their job, and they once again left with no instruction on exercises or proper movement. That same day, I was finally told at 2 p.m. that my cardiologist was put on my case and would be around, but being 2 p.m., I kind of knew the chances of him coming were slim. So my husband and I had a meeting with the case manager, social worker after this, and her lack of care almost sounded demeaning when speaking to both my husband and myself. You can tell, or at least we perceived, that she may not like her job, but the lady that she was training did. When I asked my nurse leader why I was not receiving PT or OT, she said it was because of budget and staffing issues. PT and OT is only required to come in and evaluate for discharge. So at this hospital, I guess I was lucky seeing them twice. It's just too bad that they did not suggest how to get in and out of bed or bed or chair exercises. But thank goodness for Google, as many of you had said. I started doing some exercises I found on Google myself, despite any direction from PT or OT. So I'm going to be back and make another video of what happened leading up to my discharge that really set both me and my husband off. But right now, I'm going to get some lunch, and I'm going to get up, go to my walker, be put in my wheelchair, head to the shower, and get a shower. I'm sure it's going to be very exhausting, but it's a shower in the comfort of my own home. And that is just amazing. I want to thank everyone for all your positive feedback. Sure, there's many of you on here, or some of you on here, that are just careless. And you guys can just move along, that's okay. But us kind people, let's stick together, because some days we have bad days, and we all need to build one another up on those days that are our lowest and darkest. And I just thank all of you for being there for me and listening to me. And, I'm going to record my process. And you guys can all come along if you choose and encourage me. And, I've got a village to answer to now. And thank you. Let's kind people all stick together and pay it forward. There's too many of us out there that just need to vent and need to have other people in our corner. So thank you all. God bless, and see you soon.